Raymarcher is not a voxel engine, but it offers the possibility of creating and handling voxels on a smaller scale. In Raymarcher, voxels are defined in specific 3D render textures created with a common resolution. You can provide your own 3D texture with resolution dimensions equal to the Raymarcher's common volume resolutions, or you can create the 3D texture directly in Raymarcher. Once you have the 3D texture, you can use it to create voxels. There are various ways to manipulate voxels in Raymarcher. You can convert regular mesh geometry to voxels. You can manually paint, erase voxels. You can sample the depth of voxel volume. You can track particles in the target particle system and create voxels on each particle. And you can save voxel study assets and reuse the 3D texture for a different purpose. In this video, I will talk about how to create a volume character controller, how to sample depth in the voxel volume, and how to paint or erase voxels. The Raymarcher Toolkit library features an out-of-the-box character controller for volume boxes. The volume character controller enables you to move around on the target volume box with a simple collision system. This character controller specifically works with Raymarcher's Text3D volume boxes that contain Text3D data and has nothing to do with the Unity's character controller. You can easily create a volume character via GameObject, Raymarcher, Toolkit, and Volume Character Controller. In order to use the Volume Character Controller, you need a Text3D volume box. Create a Text3D volume box and assign a 3D texture with common resolution dimensions. If you don't have any 3D texture, please have a look at the video where I am explaining how to convert and mesh the volume. That video explains how you can easily create a voxel world out of a regular mesh. I have already made a simple voxel world. Once I have the voxel world, I will enable the auto-initialize character controller based on the target Text3D volume box. This will automatically initialize my volume character controller for this volume box. I have also assigned a first-person camera to my controller so I can look around with my mouse. As our volume character controller is ready, we need to move him somehow. We need input. Raymarcher already contains example content that has a character controller input for you. Add this legacy input component to the GameObject and you are ready to go. Now, if I hit play, I can easily move around, jump, and explore this tiny voxel world. Great! So now, how can I modify this world? The Volume Voxel Painter is a regular class that allows you to paint voxels directly into a 3D texture. In this video, I'm not going to demonstrate how to use this class in code. You can look it up in the technical API documentation. I'm going to set up the Voxel Painter clearly with the components that the Raymarcher features without touching the code, so any non-programmer might find this helpful. Raymarcher contains an example content that builds these components for you. There are a script called rmsample volume voxel painter fps that contains all the necessary functionality for voxel painting, and this includes handling legacy input for an FPS character. I'm going to create this script on our volume character. As you can see, it requires a few fields. Assign the target volume box and the character controller. As the volume character controller is already assigned to this component, we have to disable the auto initialize field. This component will take care of it automatically. Then we need to match the volume resolution of our world. We know that the world has a common volume resolution. Select that volume resolution on that component. Next, we will assign the initial canvas. This is basically our world, so the voxel painter knows what 3D texture it should paint into. Last but not least, assign the target brush object. It can be any object that will represent an origin for voxel painting. I will parent this object to the camera, so it moves around with the camera. Hit play and use the left mouse to paint voxels and the right mouse to erase voxels. Works pretty well. However, I would like to locate the brush on the nearest voxel surface, so it doesn't always float with the camera. Let's add a script called rm-sample volume brush locator to the game object and assign this added component to the required field on the volume voxel painter FPS component. Assign the ray origin and our target brush that represents an origin for voxel painting. Now our brush will be sampled on the nearest voxel surface. If the brush is not precisely located on the desired surface, you can increase the depth iterations, which also consumes more performance as this is done with a number of iterations per frame. It basically ray traces the volume box and the nearest hit is resulted to the brush location. You can use this technique independently to sample any volume data. You can also paint different materials onto the voxels. In our current setup, all we need to do is create a material compositor modifier on our volume box. Select the target text 3D volume box and add a material compositor modifier. You can assign up to 4 material instances of the same type. You can't enter a different type of material. I'm going to create 4 material instances of a slope type. Each will have a different texture and overall look. If the material compositor is set, select the rm-sample volume voxel painter FPS and assign the modifier to the required field. You can use up to 4 materials and paint them independently. Let's try that out now. can check the index for the individual materials in the material preview list on the render master. You can also limit the voxel painting based on the currently sampled material instance index. There is a field called Max Material Instance Index, which limits the voxel painting. If the currently sampled voxels material instance index is less than the specified value, the painting is limited. If this value is set to 0, the limitation is not used. This can be utilized to make some voxels with certain materials unremovable. There is a possibility to save the currently modified voxel world in the Unity editor. Pause the game and add a component called Volume Save Text 3D. Assign the target volume box and press save. Now you have the modified world in the assets. That covers everything about voxels in the Raymarcher. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. Thanks for watching and good luck!